Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our weekly Overwatch short talk show, tentatively titled Let's Talk Overwatch. Might get a more creative name in the next week or two. My name is Kirk Hamilton. I am here, as with the last couple of weeks, with Cecilia D'Anastasio from New York and Nathan Grayson from San Francisco. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hey.
So this week we're talking about competitive in Overwatch, which is the mode that a lot of people play. It causes a lot of controversy, a lot of anger, a lot of excitement, something that we have sort of mixed feelings about. Nathan, you have been playing competitive more than the rest of us, especially since the most recent update and the new map and the new Reinhardt skin, most importantly, hit the game. So Nathan, what do you make of the changes to competitive in Overwatch Season 2?
So for me, I've only played a little bit so far of competitive. So I've done a couple placement matches. I think something that we all kind of agree on, as we were talking about earlier, is that like maybe competitive isn't our favorite part of the game, but I do, as like Kotaku's embedded person, feel a responsibility to delve into it, perhaps even at the cost of my own sanity.
You're our long-suffering Overwatch correspondent.
Yes, exactly. That's my new title. But for me, like, it changes the way that I approach the game. And so, like, I tend to play Overwatch as a game to kind of unwind and relax a little bit. And as soon as I'm, like, in competitive, doing placement matches or whatever, I get too intense about it for my own tastes. Like, the other day I was having a match where it was actually a really good moment. What was happening is I was playing as Farah, who's my main, especially for competitive stuff, because I'm actually kind of decent with her. And there was a Widowmaker, so a sniper. And we kind of had this back and forth dynamic going because we both realized that we were each other's biggest threats. And so, like, initially I was giving her a lot of trouble, and then she started, like, specifically targeting me anytime that I was in her field of vision. And I was just getting so frustrated. And I realized that had this been a quick play match, I just would have been like, oh, this is really neat. Like, we have a thing going. Like, we can't communicate with each other, but there's this kind of intrinsic form of communication we have going, even if it is us killing each other. There's respect.
That's the language of video games, right?
Yeah.
It's killing other people. This is how we communicate in games.
Exactly. It's beautiful. But but I was getting really mad. Like, at one point, I yelled loud enough that I was like, my neighbor definitely heard that, and now they probably think I'm a crazy person.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, as far as I've gotten with it, it's still similar to the way it was in the first season, where you do your placement matches, and then that selects where you end up. I do think that the decision to have a tier system was very smart on their part. That's a lot more like League of Legends and things like that. But we'll see how that turns out. I have not made it into my tier yet.
Nathan, quick question for you. So now that you're playing in competitive Season 2, I'm wondering if the pool of quick play players has become more or less toxic.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's still pretty similar. Like, I've encountered some people. I very rarely block people, and I blocked somebody yesterday because they were just doing, like, all of the really annoying stuff. I was impressed because they spanned a full spectrum of annoying in a way that I thought was contradictory. Like, it was the guy who opened the match by being like, hey, let's all play Zenyatta. And, like, he repeatedly kept saying that, and everyone was like, we don't really feel like doing that. Like, haha, it's funny, like, it might be fun, but we don't want to. Then he's like, come on, guys, come on, let's do it. And so it's like, okay, he's the fun guy. Like, he's going to be that one. And then by the end of the match, he was like, so-and-so, you're a really crappy healer. And, like, other so-and-so, you're doing a really bad job tanking. Like, you guys are all terrible. And it's like...
So it's possible that this player was drunk, is what you're saying. Nathan, it's interesting the discussion what you're saying about having another player that you're interacting with, which I'm joking about the video game interaction being violence, but it is actually the primary way that you interact with people in Overwatch, and how by attaching consequence to that interaction because of competitive mode, suddenly the interaction becomes basically less fun than it had been, or more stressful, which is definitely something that I've found with competitive as well. Cecilia, you and I think both don't play competitive a lot. I played some on PS4 with the first season. What are your thoughts in general on competitive? Why do you not love it so much?
So I have two thoughts on competitive. One is that, well, the main thought is that I don't play it. First and foremost, because I'm not really interested in engaging with that part of the Overwatch community. I play for fun. I play with my friends like Nathan. I play to unwind more or less. And I like the freedom of trying new characters, which lately I've been doing more and more. And I don't really want to have to deal with the pressure of being the best Pharah or playing a Roadhog a certain way, you know? Because I have my own interpretations of how these characters should be played. Maybe they're not all great, but it's how I have the most fun, definitely. The second reason is because it's hard to stay competitive in more than one game, and if I'm going to be competitive in something, it's going to be Smash.
That makes sense, I guess. You've kind of got the bandwidth for one game to really take seriously competitively.
Yeah, you know, Overwatch, that's how I blow off steam, but then I got to keep my edge on for Smash.
Right, you get really mad in Smash, and you're like, oh, I got to cool down. I got to play some Overwatch.
I got to play some Overwatch, which is basically first-person shooter Smash to begin with. That makes sense. That sort of tracks with why I don't get that into Overwatch or into competitive. For me, actually, I got into competitive season 1 and would find I would mostly play with larger groups of friends. Partly it was just that it was such a time commitment, which was surprising to me because I never really thought of Overwatch as a time commitment game, even though I would play for an hour and a half in a session. It's still competitive mode because you know, there were such long matches, and it was the kind of 2 out of 3 thing, and the games were pretty well fought usually, which makes them last longer. It just made the whole thing more of a time commitment, and then a stressful time commitment too, because you're kind of in a really long match, and if you're losing, you're kind of, you know, feeling more stressed about it because you're going to lose progress. So that for me just wound up being, that's such a big commitment and that's so much time. I'd rather just play a quick match and have fun, which is generally why I, you know, go to Overwatch in the first place, because it's sort of pick up and play for me.
Now, Kirk, I actually have a question for you, because you're like, you know, one of our site's Destiny people, and that game always seemed to me to be a big time commitment. So why were you willing to commit on that but not on Overwatch?
Well, the big difference between Destiny and Overwatch is that Destiny has a really sturdy and a really robust sort of meta progression for your character that Overwatch just doesn't have. You know, with Destiny, it's a role-playing game, and half the game is a PvE role-playing game where you're going and fighting bosses and getting loot and unlocking rare guns and getting really awesome drops. You finally get a Vex Mythoclast or a Fatebringer or whatever, and then you can take that into competitive with you and play in the Crucible, which is basically like Overwatch. So if you imagine that Overwatch had, you know, you had an RPG character that was leveling up, and you would go into the world and play and get some crazy weapon that you could then take into, you know, Overwatch competitive and play with that weapon that you got. You can imagine it'd be way easier for people to dedicate huge amounts of time because it's got that whole MMO grind. And Overwatch has nothing like that, which I actually really, really value that about Overwatch, that I can just play. I know I've got access to everything. I don't have to worry about unlocking things. So they're very different in that kind of fundamental way. And I'm glad they're different. I would never want them to be the same. As much as people say, oh, I want Overwatch to have a single-player campaign, I don't actually want that. I'm fine with it being what it is.
Right.
I have to tell you both, so I was at PAX West, now as it's called, instead of PAX Prime. PAX West in Seattle this last week, and there's a lot of cosplay there. And there was everybody was in Overwatch cosplay. You will be shocked to hear.
Yeah.
And the best was, I was talking to people, there were a couple of really good Genjis. And there was a guy in this amazing Genji suit that he made. It had like green light up, you know, like armor, and he looked amazing. But it was also Genji, and every time he went by, it was just like, get the fuck away from me. And I think that a lot of people did that. I think there was a lot of hostility directed to this poor, nice guy who like spent forever making a Genji costume because that's his favorite character or whatever. The whole thing kind of cracked me up that every time I would see, you know, I don't know, like there were a lot of divas there, and I'd be like, diva, or a lot of people in cool diva t-shirts. And because I love Diva and play Diva, so I would be very happy to see them. But whenever I'd see Genji, I'd be like, oh, some motherfucker, get away. which kind of cracked me up. We were talking before we started out that you both have some theories. So Genji has been nerfed, and Nathan, you say that you can tell a difference. Is it noticeable when you play against Genji now in a competitive?
I mean, I think in terms of like I was saying the last time we talked, Genji is a character who was quote unquote overpowered, was very reliant on good teamwork. Like, he needed people bolstering him, and he needed a team sort of making way for his ult and coordinating all of that. And so, I mean, in terms of the way that I usually see Genji played, it hasn't changed a lot. And even, like, playing him for me, I don't play him on that high of a level. So, like, I was playing him a bit the other day just to deal with some turrets and stuff, and it was pretty much the same.
Playing Genji? You were playing as Genji. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you're
I actually play as him a fair amount. I didn't know that you didn't know this.
This is like your secret shame or something. What? I never knew this about you. I can't believe we're even doing this show
I actually have
together.
an idea. I have an ongoing list of article ideas, and one of them is like an apology to my parents for like being a Genji main in Overwatch. Like, dear mom and
that's
dad,
good.
I'm so sorry that I
Is that
let
on the
you
list
down.
along with Torb Truthers? How none of us know anybody who plays Torbjorn.
It's true, they're
This is
not
a
real.
This is a good opportunity to air all of our unwritten Kotaku over. You think we write too many Kotaku Overwatch articles now? Wait until you see the giant list of unpublished Overwatch articles that we have. So we were discussing this, that if Genji is no longer Genji, if he's no longer the character that everyone complains about, someone is going to be the new character that people complain about. And I think you both have some theories on who that might be. Cecilia, who do you think the new character is that people are going to complain about now?
I think it's going to be Mei. People have
You think
always
it's gonna be
complained
Mei?
about Mei, but I think that with her ult being expanded from 8 to 10 meters, it's going to bring a lot of trouble to Mei's teammates. I posted about this last week. My first time playing Mei after she was buffed, I was so excited, and I had my ult prepared, and I got on the point, and I was like, yes, this ult's going to take up the whole point. I can't wait. The whole enemy's on it, all of them. Just toss it in there. And my team was coming up behind me. I felt great. Tossed it in. Everyone froze. Just bam, bam, bam. Icicles to the head. And then I looked at the clock, and I realized, oh, my God, like, they just got this point because I froze them there, and I wasn't standing on it.
Oh, man.
It was
I don't
the
think
worst.
That's ever happened to me before.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't even really thought about that. So you stuck the whole team in place where they needed to be to capture the point.
It's true. I did.
Oh,
It's my secret, not so secret shame because I wrote about it last
too
week.
bad.
But this is a thing. I mean, this is a thing that can happen, and I've seen in the past few days, I've seen other people do the same thing. So it's not just me.
That's interesting. So you think that Mei will be? I think as I believe talked about last week, Mei is a particularly infuriating character, just
Yes.
because it's a terrible feeling to slow down and lose your speed. So any boost to Mei's power is a risk that everyone will eventually start saying, "Oh my God, Mei is such a problem." So that could be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. Nathan, who do you think is going to be the new Genji?
So I think it's probably, I mean, already just in terms of the complaints I'm seeing on forums and stuff, Roadhog.
Boo!
Like, I see so many people talking about Roadhog's hook, and I think it's partially in reaction to the fact that in the most recent patch, they said that they modified his hook to make it more reasonable, and everyone's like, no, you guys didn't fix it at all. And so there's sort of like that juxtaposition of expectation and reality, and that's what's getting people so upset.
It was interesting. I thought that patch note was interesting because I think that what Blizzard was talking about was different than the complaint that I've seen people make about Roadhog's hook. It sounded like they were saying, we just made the physics on it more realistic, and so weird things don't happen if you get hooked in a weird situation. Where the complaint about Roadhog's hook has always been, it like grabbed me through a wall or it did some unbelievable thing. So it seemed like they were patching something that is not what people complain about. And yeah, I've seen people complaining about Roadhog's hook a lot. Also on the new map, it sounds like there's just a lot of good hook opportunities on that map, and I saw people saying, I think it was a commenter maybe in your article about it, the first comment was somebody saying just, my experience of this map is basically get hooked by Roadhog and killed, get hooked by Roadhog and killed, get hooked by Roadhog
I
and
advised
killed.
them to become a Roadhog main.
Right,
It's
that's
like
the
become
answer.
Roadhog.
Right, the answer is
Give
you
in.
must become what you hate.
Exactly. That's the answer in Overwatch, just in general. Become
Right.
what
It
you
is.
hate.
It really is. It's interesting. It was something you had talked about last week, I think, after we recorded, because last week we were talking about things that make us angry in the game and just the sort of darkness and trolling in Overwatch, and how it's important to remember that a large part of the game and many of the characters in the game are specifically designed to be annoying. Like, that's
Yes.
their whole role. And so if you're not hating getting frozen by Mei, or you're not hating getting harried by Genji, that's the game's actually not working right. So it's kind of part of just what you sign up for. Like, it's supposed to feel humiliating and shitty to get grabbed by Roadhog's hook. That's just, I mean, you got hooked by a guy and shot in the face with a shotgun.
Deterrent? Is there anything that will make you avoid that actively, or like learn how to avoid it more than how infuriating it is?
I don't know. I think it's a real issue, and I'm saying this as a Roadhog main, but I've been trying out Pharah recently, and when I'm about to escape from the holding area, even at the very top point behind a wall, and I'm standing there waiting for my moment to fly out, Roadhog can hook me through that wall when I'm in there, and I'm supposed to be totally safe. Like, I've never done that because I just never thought it was possible, but even now that I know it's possible, I don't think I really want to do that. That seems kind of cheap.
And that's the kind of thing I would imagine they'll fix, since that doesn't seem like working as intended behavior for the hook. It's not supposed to be able to defy the laws of physics to grab somebody. But then again, like, when, with other characters, like if it starts to feel like, I hate Tracer, Tracer is so annoying, I always try to remember, oh yeah, but Tracer is supposed to be annoying. That's Tracer's entire job, is to be annoying. So that's
which is a little bit
part of it.
different, because Tracer is like a character who's meant to go around and mess with the back line of people's formation and stuff, whereas Roadhog is supposed to be up front, kind of doing his thing. Although I play him a little bit more like I have him, I go into like the back and mess with people and stuff.
Yeah, he's kind of a flanky tank. Like, he's good if you ambush people, and less of a Reinhardt, or less of a forward assault character. Yeah. I'm sure I know you both saw this because we shared it. This was several weeks ago, but I just hope that Roadhog will always be able to hook D.Va's tank before it explodes. You both saw that. The video clip of the Roadhog jumping into the well in the middle of whatchamacallit, the Greek control map.
Ilos,
Yeah, in Ilos, and a D.Va launches. I'll just explain this for viewers, and just in case you didn't see, the most amazing Overwatch play I've ever seen was a D.Va ult launches into the air. Roadhog jumps into the well, hooks the ult, and pulls it down so that it explodes on him down in the well and doesn't hurt anybody else. I think maybe the greatest Roadhog play I've ever seen. And so hopefully that will always be possible.
Roadhog is a true martyr. It's true.
Like
I won a game
giant.
the other day because our Roadhog just went out in front of everybody at the point and just like got everyone to chase after him and ran away. And he died.
Nice.
He died. I felt really bad, but we got the point. So
it's true. He's like Superman.
It is really beautiful, and it's his way of coping with being a one-man apocalypse. It's very lonely, but he's decided to dedicate his life to helping others.
Sometimes the one-man apocalypse sacrifices himself for everybody else. Okay, well, I think we can wrap it up this week. We will be back next Tuesday to talk about Overwatch some more. I will play more now that I'm back from PAX, I'll play more with the new patch, and maybe even we can get a group together and play some competitive, though we don't have to do that because, hey, Overwatch takes all kinds and you can play any kind that you want. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday with another show. Thanks, Nathan and Cecilia. See everybody next week.